Hey there, have you ever been learning a song and you're using a metronome to get your tempo up to speed, but you've hit a wall? You find that the metronome tempo that it's set at, how quick it's clicking, that you feel like you've pushed the song as fast as it can go, but the metronome won't go any higher. Here's an example. I'm going to use the song Stick Season. So it goes like this. Now, if I set a metronome going, and I'm going to pull up my trusty guitar tuner here, so you can hear with the iPad, it's set at 120 right now. You see there that I matched it, but you might be trying it at home at 120 BPM and falling short, or find that you're going at half the speed of the metronome. So I'm going to share with you why that is and also what to do about it, because that's why we are here, right? So the first thing I'm going to do here is we're going to just say roughly that our target BPM on the whiteboard here for Stick Season is 120 BPM. So in other words, we're setting the metronome at 4/4 at 120 BPM. And that is the most common thing. And of course, you tap your foot, when you use metronomes, you tap your foot to the beat. Now, here's where players miss a step. It comes down to what you're fitting inside each beat. If we take a look here, and I've pulled up, this is from Guitar Zero to Hero, I think the name of the channel. A lot of great song lessons. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel, so I'd fully recommend you check out his channel. He's a lot of great song lessons. But the bit I want to draw your attention to here, my job here is to fill in the learning gap between how to do this and what's going wrong. So, looking at the screen, you'll see down here at the bottom, in faded grey, the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just focus on those for a sec. Now, when you set your metronome, ideally you'll want the 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll want to fit on the metronome ticks. Ideally, whatever's on the beat, you'll want to fit with the metronome click. So in our case here, we'll take a look back, and you see here, you'd fit the 0, that 2, that 0, and that 2 on the metronome click. Now, I'm going to make the sound of the metronome with my foot here, okay, like that. So we should go. That's all I'm fitting into the beat in the first place. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. In case you want to see that on guitar, it would go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I know you might be looking at that going, that makes sense. I can play that. But the thing is, what we want to do is we want to just like get the job here is that as you follow along, that all your levels of understanding, they're connecting up. Because it's like, I remember when I did maths in school, the teacher would ask me if I got something. I'd be like, yeah. And I thought I did some of it. And then it'd get to the stage where they'd have the formula on the board. And I'd be like, how did I get that answer? I would have missed one little step along the way. So that's why we're filling little blanks. Right, so those were our basics laid out there. And I've basically just copied it in here. So that's your 1, your 2, your 3, and your 4. And those worked on the metronome click. Now here's where many players go wrong. It's that as you go along, you match some of the finger picking, in this case, to the metronome. And it sounds good, and it is belonging on certain beats. And we think then that we've got it, but then all of a sudden we realize we can't take the song any faster. And when that happens, then the obvious answer is to speed up the metronome, but that has a ceiling. Like, we can only put a metronome so fast. So let's just say in our case here for Stick Season, it goes at 120 BPM, and to get it up to speed straight away, that's how it sounds. But obviously if you're learning it and there's skills involved, you're not going to go from 0 to like 120 and you're going to work it along the way. But oftentimes this might happen. You will get it up to speed in a halfway time fashion. So if I do this, it's perfectly half the time off where it's meant to be. And that's often the wall you hit when you're learning a song and you go, I don't know, it's at 120, but I'm not playing it fast enough. And the obvious answer then, of course, is to boost the speed of the metronome, and we do that, but we hit a ceiling, because when you begin to think about it, if you're at 120 and you're playing it at half the speed it's meant to go, to make the metronome work with you, you need to double the metronome speed to get your other thing up to speed. And this just doesn't sound, I don't think it goes up. Oh, it goes up to 140, okay, 240, but that's the limit, like, you can't go any faster. So if it was a faster song, you couldn't double the metronome. But I don't know, and geez, my heart feels a bit unsteady even hearing that going at that speed, right? So I'm going to put that back to 120. And that's the core root of the problem. It's that we learn it and we're actually playing it at half the speed it's meant to go along with the metronome. We hit our desired tempo and we realize we're still not fast enough. And from there, then we're kind of left questioning, well, where do I go? So how do we fix this? Well, if we go back to our example here and we said that this is what we put on each beat. These belonged on each beat. So you could set your metronome to, let's just say, 80 BPM, and you could get the main beats first with the metronome. And the key thing here to remember is you may look at that and go, that's easy, I don't need to do that. But keep in mind, in between each of these, we're going to be fitting stuff like this, 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 and this. And we want to leave enough space between the beats we're playing on that you can begin to think about it and you can begin to visualize and hear what's meant to go in between each of the beats. So that's step one. It'd be to get those main beats first. It will feel pretty okay if you're used to using the metronome and if you have a certain degree of proficiency, ability with finger picking. Now, where do you go next? The next place you'd go are the ands. And again, we're just filling in gaps. So now, and I'm actually going to highlight these a bit better. So now you would be fitting in these in between the beats. And that's where the ands are silent, so you got to count out loud. Otherwise, you're leaving it to chance, which isn't a good strategy for finger picking or timing in general. And that's why looking at this on a video is one thing, but you want to begin to, like, in your mind, to practice this framework and begin to count it, treat it, and think about it this way. And it ends up becoming as natural as anything after a while. So now at 80 BPM, the next step would be this. It would be to count and play. I like to say and play the beats and the ands. That'll be your next step. Out loud. Right? So now what that looks like is as follows. So we've this going here, and I'll actually change it to 80. You might be able to hear that, hopefully it's loud enough. And what that looks like then on paper along with it would be as follows. So if it was going 1, 2, and I'll just tap the foot like that. So I'll just play the main beats first. Just getting those thumbs. So what I do first with the main beats is going to feel slow, but remember we're putting something in the middle. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, those are the blues. 1, 2, and you can try this along with if you want. 4. But then 1 and 2. Oh God. 1 and 2 and 1 and So then if we add in the ands, it would go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. It does sound weird because it's missing so much of the other notes and it sounds unusual, but just trust the process. So that would be what you do. And if you're finding that difficult, even start with the main beats. Start with the 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you'd go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Right? And the idea with this is you try now. I'll just get a quick metronome marking of what that was. That was really slow. But you see there, even for myself, I'm taking it so slow that I can make sense of it in my head every step of the way. Get out of the tuner. Okay, it's like 40 BPM. So that was pretty slow. That's okay. Right, that'll be the next step then. You got the main beats, then you get the ands. And the idea with this is, it's almost like, it reminds me of Jenga, that you'd build the bass as you're setting it up and you get the beats steady first, then you get the beats and the ands, the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and steady. Do it enough times that like you're like, yeah, this feels easy. Because we're adding more on top. And if anything's shaking and you add in the next bit on top, the whole thing starts shaking a ton, right? So just keep an eye on that. Now, right, so that is our 1, 2, 3, 4 cover. And you see we're filling these in bit by bit. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is as follows. I'm going to move to the next type. These are E and as. And you see here we don't actually have reason for all of them. See the way here, like not all, there's nothing here over this E. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that out. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go again. And I'm only going to go over the ones that we need. So we need this one here. We need this one here. We need this one here. I'm going to color in the reds while we're at it. I hope nobody's OCD is going, that guy is painting different colors on the stuff. Oh, slight mistake there in my writing. I'm sorry. There we go. Make that one blue. Blue. Okay, so there we go. Now, here's the deal. In this case, the E and the E and you will only need to count the ones you use when it comes to the E and the A. So in this case here, and I'll do a better zoom in on the whiteboard. There we go. In this case here, I would not wear myself out counting 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. I would basically count what's in colors. 1 and 2 E and a 3 and 4 E and a. And those sharp-eared, sharp-eyed ones of you among us would notice that it's the same thing done twice with the rhythms. So it's 1 and 2 E and a, 3 and 4 E and a. Quick tip for counting that would be to count, like if this is the metronome, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, then go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, then go 1 and 2 E and a, 3 and 4 E and a. And I would recommend, in terms of getting it stable, like we're saying earlier, not to shake, practice that count along. If you need to rewind that, or here's a tip, right? If you're not watching this on your phone, if you're watching this on another device, just or record yourself saying it to record this. So get the phone there if you need it and go 1 and 2 E and a, 3 and 4 E and a, 1 and 2 E and a, 3 and 4 E and a. The cool thing about that is the more you train that, the more the rhythm goes into your mind. And the more it's in your mind, the more it's going to be easier to put playing on top of what you're saying in your head. So let's take a look. So we got 1 and 2 E and a. Now, this is where I'll play it. I'll go 1 and 2 E and a, 3 and 4 E and a. So you'll notice there I've mapped out every step of the way. So your next step then after that would be to count and play. We to count and play the 1 and 2 E and a, 3 and 4 E and a. And when we said earlier that it was only the beats that would connect with the metronome click, now there's going to be a whole load of stuff here, all this, that will not be on any click. And that's why I want to drive home the importance of you practicing the count. So if you practice counting with the metronome, you'll be practicing going 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you go 1 and 2 E and a, 3 and 4 E and a. If you miss a single digit of a beat there off the metronome click, you got to take a look at it, because it means that if your count isn't intact with the click, it means that your playing won't be intact with the click, which they've got to connect up. So when they're connected, then you can bring them up together, up to speed. And the really cool thing, this is the approach you can take with so many fingerpicking songs, and there's only so many fingerpicking patterns as well, because a lot of them will overlap. You know the way like a lot of songs would have the down, down, up, down, up. Like this pattern here, oh, which one am I pointing? This way. This pattern here is used in a ton of songs, right? So quick recap of today's lesson. We said the main problem is that we often learn what we're playing and we're actually connecting it to the metronome marking that's like at half the speed of what we want. And then we try and put the metronome higher and it won't work. When in reality, what you got to watch out for is that you're only playing the numbers on the metronome clicks, and you know how to count the silent things in between the main beats. That's the E and as. And that's why as well, like channels like Guitar Zero to Hero, not Guitar Hero to Zero, that'd be an interesting channel. But looking at it, like that's why I love the way he has that written underneath, because you know how to count it then. If it's a lesson where the teacher is just like, follow this thing, and they just play it. If you've the ear capabilities built up and you've already done work and it works, that's brilliant. But it's when you don't, that's when it's like, what do I do now? And that's where I love with the 1E and the 2E and all that there's specific points in between the beats that you can map to know if you're counting it, that you're saying it correctly, and then that you'll play it correctly. Okay, that is my 2 cents on how to fix that metronome problem. Hope you enjoyed this lesson, and if you've stuck around to this point and you found it incredibly useful or even half useful, I teach tons more lessons like this inside a private community. And if you want to be notified when we open again, because the doors are closed at the moment, there's a link below this video. So be sure to check it out and you'll be first in line. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.